Namo Buddhaya. Diving into Dhamma, Dhamma Chat with Ajahn Bhūripanyo. Welcome to our weekly Dhamma session series hosted by Dhamma USA. Every Monday, we are honored to have meaningful conversations with esteemed Buddhist monks and nuns, enriching our understanding of the Dhamma. Today, we are delighted to have Ajahn Wade Bhūripanyo joining us. This series aims to provide profound insights and guidance for the benefit of the Dhamma USA community. We hope this discussion will inspire and support your practice, fostering a deeper connection with the teachings of the Buddha. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
And we look forward to continuing this beautiful tradition every Monday. May you also find peace and wisdom, our wonderful friends, through today's discussion. Okay, so coming to some personal journey and ordination, Venerable Ajahn Wade Bhūripanyo. Can you share your journey into Buddhism and what inspired you to become a Buddhist monk?
Oh, certainly, sure. Well, I first encountered Buddhism in college. I was studying English, as we call it in America, studying English with the meaning I was studying literature and writing. And I was planning to be a fiction writer when I finished my bachelor's degree. And I thought, if I'm going to be a writer, though, I should have some more wisdom, I thought, about life. And being used to studying books, I thought that I would take a course in philosophy or some courses in philosophy, and did actually earn a minor in philosophy by the time I graduated. And one of the courses I took, one of the very first ones, was reading about it in the course description. It indicated that it would include some Buddhist philosophy. And for some reason unknown to me, I thought, well, I should take that. And to this day, I still don't know really why. The idea that I should take it, simply because it had some Buddhist philosophy in it, having had really almost no exposure to Buddhism whatsoever before that.
Really?
Yes. And it turned out to be quite a fateful decision for me, because I took the course, and very early on in reading a commentary to the Heart Sutra, I found that I developed faith very quickly with regard to two teachings in particular that really seemed to stand out to me. And the first was that the writer, Venerable Geshe Rabten, started his commentary by saying that all living beings seek pleasure, and they're trying to avoid suffering. And I thought, well, that is something that seems so true, and it seems like a very smart place to start. And then in explaining the Heart Sutra, he explained that the teaching that all conditioned phenomena are devoid of inherent existence. This is a formulation they have in Tibetan Buddhism. I'm not very familiar with Tibetan Buddhism, but which I think perhaps is roughly equivalent to, or is equivalent to, our statement in our Pali Suttas, perhaps, of everything that is subject to arising is also subject to passing away.
That's right.
Okay. And this made a very, very profound impact on me. And it was within a few months that I decided I wanted to try to practice Buddhism to the fullest extent, inspired by the teachings on attaining Nibbana and overcoming suffering. And about a year after graduating from college, I actually did ordain in a Burmese meditation lineage at a monastery in California. And that's how I got my start. And
so you ordained in Burmese tradition first.
That's right.
You were introduced through a philosophy course, and then you learned Heart Sutra, and then you ordained as a Burmese monk.
Yes.
And then my next question: how did your meeting with Ajahn Akincano influence your decision to ordain in what Marp?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. So, my initial contact with Buddhism was through Tibetan Buddhism, through Tibetan philosophical texts. And after a little bit of study, a little bit more of study, I decided I wanted to find out what modern scholars thought were kind of the early Buddhist texts. And at that time, this was back in about 1995, 1996, they were writing about the Pali scriptures. And so that caused me to turn my attention to Theravada Buddhism. And so I entered a Burmese monastery in California. Actually, it was somewhat of an international monastery. We had monks from a few different countries there. And I ended up being a monk for 2 years. Had a very wonderful experience. Also very difficult in many ways, but very wonderful, very productive. And I returned to lay life and with the intention of ordaining again. Okay. So it turned out to be 13 long years before I went back into a monastery. I entered Bayagiri Monastery in California, which is a monastery in the lineage of Ajahn Chah and Ajahn Sumedho, so a Thai tradition monastery. And I was inspired to go there by their reputation for good Vinaya practice, which I found to be, which in my humble opinion, I thought was very much true in my time there. I was there for about 1.5 years, following the 8 precepts and practicing. And I ended up going on to Thailand to ordain. The reason being because I had some health problems. It wasn't really possible for the community to ordain me in California, and so some of the ajahns recommended that I go to Thailand. And one of the ajahns I respected very much had been a student of Ajahn Akincano of Wat Mapjan. And so I went, and I found his presence so inspiring, and I found his teachings very, very straight to the point about practicing sila, samadhi, and panya in order to realize nibbana. And I was very much focused on that, the practice there. I remember his presence was such that for me and the other new monastics there, we felt like being in his presence made us feel so good. And it was quite remarkable. We'd remark to each other about it. And we came to think, boy, if it feels that good to be around him, what must it be like to be him? And it was very inspiring. We thought we'd found somebody who was very well developed, and he gave us so much hope that we also could develop ourselves as well. And so I'll always be very grateful to him that he allowed me to ordain there and train me. And so very
such an inspiring story, actually. Like your journey, it's quite a journey.
Yes.
It's quite a journey. So, yeah. So if I may come to the other point, like what were some of the most significant challenges and rewards of the training at a monastery in Thailand?
Okay. So, well, yes. So there were many challenges, especially for someone from a different country, as I was going there. It was a different climate, a different language, different cuisine, such a dramatically different culture. The culture of Thailand is so different from American culture. And fortunately, the program for ordination required us to be postulants for ordination, what we call, in the West, we call anagarikas. There they would call it a pakao, so a white-robed 8 preceptor. And I was able to do that for 4 months before I was ordained as a samanera. So even though I was already 40 or 41 years old, I was ordained as a samanera first, which was the program for foreigners who wanted to ordain there. Very much in the tradition of Ajahn Chah, he had a similar program.
4 months as an anagarika.
That's right. It used to be and I think it still is at Wat Nongpapong, Ajahn Chah's kind of main, original monastery, the first monastery. A year as an 8 preceptor, and then a year as a samanera, even for the Thai monks. He had a saying that if it's easy to ordain, then it's easy to return to lay life.
So simple.
And so we made quite an investment in the monkhood before ordaining by spending this time. It was also a wonderful opportunity for us to learn and see, was this really suitable for us? Could we really do it? Could we adapt? And it required quite a bit of adaptation, excuse me. And so I ended up being a seminary for 6 months before ordaining as a bhikkhu. And that was even just that process, as I mentioned the adaptation was in and of itself a tremendous reward, I thought. So the challenges through following the practice there under Ajahn Mun's guidance and the community's guidance helped us to adapt and grow, even in that time period before we ordained. And then there was so much more to come.
Was he able to speak in English? Or you had to learn Thai language too?
Okay, so it was the norm that the foreigners would learn Thai, but I have to admit that I didn't study much Thai personally. But and Ajahn Mun, he doesn't speak much English. He did try learning some, which he could pick up rather quickly, but with so many duties, he wasn't able to become fluent in it. But fortunately, we had many monks there who could translate.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's quite, I think, the case even with Ajahn Chah, right? I've heard like how the Western people have met Ajahn Chah, and he didn't speak in a single word in English,
Right.
and he even spoke a very remote dialect in Thailand.
Yes.
And then how these people have learned the way he was, giving Dhamma talks, and his behavior, his mannerism, his wonderful compassion was reflected in his life itself.
Yes.
That's how they somehow became such powerful followers of Ajahn Chah. So yeah, it looks like language is not a barrier anymore.
Right. Right. Yes.
So, all right. So, can you describe a typical day in the life of a monk at Marp?
Marp, sure.
I think it will be also very helpful.
Sure. Certainly, yes. The monastery regimen was designed to train us to be what they call in Thailand either Kamatana monks or Tudong monks.
Okay.
So Kamatana monks basically meaning meditation monks, and Tudong meaning it's a Thai word. It's adapted from the Pali Dutanga, and so it means following the ascetic practices. So we were forest dwelling. It's a monastery with a great deal of land in a quiet place on the side of a mountain, stretching up a mountain, heavily forested with old growth forest. And we would get up early in the morning, every morning, for 5 a.m. Is that right? Yes, 5 a.m. Puja to the Triple Gem, which we would chant, and meditation as well. And then we would go out on alms round every morning. It was the expectation that is actually as is the expectation throughout Thailand that monks should go on alms round every day. Considered the sacred duty of the monks in Thailand. So it's a cultural expectation of the Buddhist monks. And so we go out on the alms round, and most of the routes were 3 or 4 or 5 kilometers round trip. They're also, and most of them were in the country, you might say, and so through quiet surroundings, going to a few houses. There was also one that would take us by van into the local fishing village, and we go through the fishing market. It was very, very busy, a lot of traffic and a lot of people. And so it was an interesting contrast to being in the monastery. Returning to the monastery, we would have our meal. And in the days when I ordained, we would eat 1 meal a day. That was the regimen in the monastery. And so we'd have 1 meal, and then various duties in terms of cleaning and taking care of the eating hall, as well as looking after and supporting the ajahns. Upataking, as they call it from the Pali, or assisting the ajahns. Yes.
Pataka.
So
Yes.
upataka, okay. was considered fundamental to the training,
Mm,
actually, at Wat Map Chan, as it was at Wat Nong Papong. And so we would wash our Ajahns' bowls, and for example, if it was robe washing day, we take their robes and wash them. All these kinds of duties, looking after the Ajahns, which gave us a wonderful opportunity to be close to them very frequently, and so we could learn from them and see their example. And this is, also, it helped us to grow in humility
wonderful.
and respect for them. It's a very good training.
Yeah, some of the duties actually is to help you train yourself to become humble, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then after these duties, we might have a work period. There often was quite a bit of physical labor to be done around the monastery. For example, at the time I arrived at the monastery, they had just laid the foundation for a large chedi that Ajahn Mun was building. And as of a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, it was still in progress. And so there's quite a bit of labor associated with building the chedi, which is a wonderful, wonderful design, very beautiful and very inspiring, as well as many other things around the monastery, taking care of the monastery. And but then throughout the afternoon, we would have individual time, late morning through the afternoon, individual time. Each one of us had our own separate cabins in the forest, and so with our own walking meditation paths as well.
Okay.
And so it was a wonderful.
Your own walking meditation path, Chankamana?
Yes.
Okay. And also kuti.
And the kuti, yes. And so,
how many kutis were there?
Let's see. By the time I left in about February of 2023, I believe there were about 75 kutis.
Okay. Wow.
The monastic population during most of the year is usually about 40 to 50 monks. And during the Wasa, it could swell to 60 or 70 monks. They also had 2 large dormitories as well. And so it's quite a large community. And so evening
time, you also go back to the meditation hall or something? Do
yes.
puja?
Yes, that's right. So in the evening, well, in the late afternoon, we had a work period, another work period. So it could be quite physically strenuous, and this was part of the training, actually. The monastery being on the side of a mountain, the main area of the monastery, from the eating hall, where we had the meal, up to the cathedral, you might call it, the Uposita hall, at the midway up the mountain, was about 800 meters, or 900 meters, was uphill. And there are many things to be done in between as well, during the work periods. And so it was strenuous. And Ajahn Mun said that this was good training for us to develop physically, so that we could walk on tudong if we had to travel by foot. So work period in the afternoon, and then we'd have some light refreshments. And then in the evening, we would gather together for the evening puja to the Triple Gem as well. And that would
What time was the puja?
We would usually begin at 7 p.m. And after the chanting, we'd have a meditation period, and then oftentimes a talk, either by Ajahn Mun himself or a tape, perhaps a recorded talk of Ajahn Chah's, for example. And then perhaps more meditation, especially during the Wasa. We usually would stretch, I think, until 10 p.m. And then that would be the time to go back to the kutis.
Okay. So you wake up at 5 and then go to bed at 10 something.
Yes, the morning puja started at 5, evening puja ended at 10. So, yes. Yes. So it still is, yeah. And we needed a rest.
So do you feel tired at the end of the day?
I usually was. Yeah.
A lot of work and only one meal, and
I have to admit, I often felt quite exhausted by the time. Yes. Yes. I was 42 when I ordained as a bhikkhu. And so I personally, yes, I have to admit, I feel quite exhausted by the end of the day.
Yeah, that's right. So let's say we'll go to another area here. What are some of the key teachings and practices emphasized in the lineage of Ajahn Chah Subhaddo and Ajahn Mun Bhuridattataya?
Oh, let's see. Well, there's the focus, as I was mentioning, of course, on the ascetic practices, of course, on a foundation of the Vinaya, strict adherence to the Vinaya, and then an emphasis on continuous meditation practice, A technique that's relatively common in Thailand, even outside of the lineage of Ajahn Mun, historically has been the recitation of a meditation word. They would call in Thai they call it a borikam, coming from the Pali parikamma.
Oh,
Okay.
I see. Okay.
And
It's very close to Pali.
Yes.
Parikam.
right. And so this means it's a preparatory work for the meditation. Typically the meditation word would be either Buddho, Dhammo, or Sangho. And so in its simplest form, it's simply a continuous repetition of the word to drive extraneous thinking out of the mind and focus the mind on this one mantra.
Like Buddha Anusati?
Yes, yes. And in the lineage of Ajahn Mun, it appears that various teachers use this mantra in different ways, ascribing different meanings, perhaps relevant to Buddha Anusati. And when reciting the mantra, recalling it as perhaps one theme as the one who knows, this kind of thing, or knowing, and focusing the mind on this. Still others would say that it's simply focus on it without any meaning, but just to make the mind focused. And so it seems that different teachers use different approaches for their disciples. And so this would be the preparatory work. And Ajahn Mun also assigned this as a parikama for some of his disciples. Another common meditation theme is loving kindness. Not loving kindness meditation, but anapanasati.
Okay.
Yes. So breath meditation. And sometimes coupled with this meditation word. So one might be breathing in and say Bud, and breathing out say Do.
Oh, I see.
Yes, so,
Same.
yes.
Bud and Do.
Yes.
Okay. Inhale and exhale. Right.
So helping to focus the mind on the breath in this way. And these are two, and a third meditation theme that was quite commonly assigned was meditation on the repulsive aspects of the body, the 32 parts of the body.
Asubha bhavana.
Yes, and coupled at times with a number of other related body contemplations, such as contemplation of death or contemplation on the decomposition of a corpse. And so even in their talks and in their explanations of it, they might transition from one to the other relatively seamlessly. The body is composed of many different organs, and they're repulsive. And then you can imagine, considering these organs, about how they decompose after death. After death. And then death is a reality for all of us because it's a natural condition for the body. And so transitioning seamlessly and contemplating these various themes. And of course, Thai Buddhism, I mentioned loving kindness earlier. It's the very strong fundamental context of the attitude of loving kindness. And so see this emphasized quite a bit as well. And especially in terms of promoting community harmony within the monastic community. And so that was the expectation.
Did you also practice skeleton meditation, gazing at the skeleton?
Yes. I wonder if you may know, you mentioned it, and I wonder if you may know that Wat Nongpapong, Ajahn Chah's first monastery, one of the hallmark features was that he actually had a human skeleton on display in a glass case in a prominent place in his main sala, main meditation hall. And
the real one. A
real one, yes. A devoted lay supporter at Ajahn Chah's request, as I understand it, donated it, knowing that her passing was imminent. And so it's on display there. And Ajahn Chah would say that the reason he had it there was so that we'd remember to contemplate death, saying that until we understand death, life is very confusing. So
that's very important to remember that. I remember, like in Sri Lanka, also in forest monasteries, we have real dead bodies.
Wow!
It's not only the skeleton; skeletons are also there. I've seen 2 skeletons in Bhavana Society here, West Virginia, with the Bhante G. this place. And in Sri Lanka, there are real dead bodies. People donate their bodies when they die, and the monks can see that decomposing of the body.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a wonderful practice. Wow.
Yeah. That is also there. Yeah, part of the forest practice. Yeah. So if I come to another question, how did the environment and community at Wat Marp shape your understanding and practice of the Dhamma?
Well, I think the adaptability was quite an important learning for me about adapting to the conditions and changing my personality, and learning that that in a variety of situations in life we may find challenges we never would have expected. And I had idealized ideas of what it would be like to be a Buddhist monk in a monastery, and then entering the monastery in the subtropics. And it was a wonderful monastery, but the reality of what it was like to be a foreigner in a foreign environment was something.
Were there other foreign monks too?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually we had about a dozen there at Wat Marp.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Very fortunately so. Very fortunately for me. And so this was helpful for me in terms of learning, well, no matter what situation we go in life, that there will be challenges. And whatever idealized notions I had, I was somewhat naive about how difficult it would be to make the transition into that kind of an environment. And on the other hand, the wonderful community, having the other foreign monks there who could help me learn about how to live there, and the wonderful community of the Thai monks and Ajahn Mun himself, of course. I really learned so much about living in harmony with others, I think, and the value and importance of that. And so many times in my career, I've thought, in my relatively short career as a monk, I thought if I didn't have the Sangha, I don't know where I would be. I would have so many problems. And so I really came to value that aspect of the monkhood.
That is so wonderful. I can see Ajahn Wade here. You become a very, very comfortable monk with everyone. You become very humble and so nice and kind and help everyone. The way you are so actively working here, just like this is, wherever you go, I think you have that training. Could have helped you so much to be so humble and such an accommodating monk.
Well, thank you.
I can see that. That's really beautiful, really beautiful. When we have such training, I think the power of training, right?
Yes.
So you had a beautiful place in Thailand.
Yes.
So what prompted you to return to the US in 2023, and how has the transition been for you so far?
Thank you for asking, Ryan. So yes, another interesting transition culturally. Having lived as a bhikkhu mostly in Thailand, I did do a short stay near Sydney at a branch monastery of Ajahn Nuns in Australia. So a little bit of exposure to being a monk in a Western context, as I did years ago as a monk in the Burmese forest tradition. But certainly quite a transition.
So kind of you had two cultural shocks.
Yes.
One when you went to Thailand
as
a layperson, and you came back here as a monastic, completely transformed as a different person.
Yes.
So it was another cultural shock to you.
Yes, that's right. Yes. The culture in Thailand is monks are such an integral part of the culture of Thailand in general, the country of Thailand, that we have a place, you might say, and there's an etiquette around it and cultural expectations, and you learn over time. I had to learn over years how to fulfill that and how to live that role. And then coming back to America, where we don't have that kind of culture very much, and so then I was a strange figure to most people. which I noticed as soon as I came off the plane in the airport, and yes, started interacting with people. They weren't familiar with Buddhist monks, and so quite fortunately, we have we do have monasteries in America, and that's empty cloud here. We're very fortunate to stay. So it's quite comfortable at the monasteries for the monks, I believe. The lay people have a better understanding of what we're doing, and they're very open to learning. And they're interested in Buddhist culture, of course. So it's possible to fit in more easily. But whenever we go out of the monastery, and it's quite striking about how different the culture is, which is stimulating, and it helps me to adapt again, and to investigate and pay attention to what comes up within and what's happening outside, and so in that way, it's a good learning experience, I think, and helps to keep me maybe a little bit younger in this kind of thing. Well, I came back to the United States because, as I mentioned, I had some health problems. Back in the days when I was at a Abhayagiri monastery, this was back in 2011 and 2012, it wasn't the healthcare system was different than it is now. And so it wasn't so easy to take care of a monk who had health problems. And I went to Thailand and had a wonderful experience there. But I found that the physical environment wasn't so conducive for me physically. And eventually I felt like it was too difficult for me physically with the health problems that I had. And this is a relatively common experience for the Western monks going to Asia to ordain. So I returned to America and found that it was very helpful for my health. Physically, I'm doing much better here.
Okay.
Yes. So I was quite sad to leave Thailand. And I often think of it and my wonderful experiences there in so many ways. But physically, I feel like I feel rejuvenated here. So it's been a good change for me.
So pros and cons.
Yes.
Ups and downs, yeah. It's always like that, right?
Sadhu. Yes.
So we learned that, what do you call, plus minus always. It's not a parallel line. So, yeah. Let's see, like we have another question from here. How does the practice of contemplating the mindfulness of death shape our personal experience as a practitioner, such as the example of skeleton meditation?
Bhante, well, I would like to invite you I wonder, you must have some wonderful thoughts on this. I invite you to answer first.
Okay. Yes, I think by contemplating on the skeleton meditation, for example, it really helps you, see the reality of your life, and also you see the death, you see the impermanence. It helps you to practice vipassana more deeper, and especially with forest monks, I think it really helps. Maybe not like the urban monks; they still have to be more stronger within in the forest, right? So yeah, it can make you a very confident person in dealing with many situations, practicing in the forest, and also when you come out of it, like taking a deep dive into the life in general, especially to Dhamma. This really helps. A lot of monks who used to practice this Attika Bhavana, what we call the bone, looking at the bone skeleton meditation. Yeah, it really also helps us powerfully to, cope up with the strong temptations, right?
Sadhu.
Yeah. For example, when you want to attain jhana, you have to really fight with sensual pleasures. So Attika Bhavana, or this contemplating the mindfulness death, really shape our experience. You want to add something?
Perhaps what I might add is that it can help us to be heedful In my experience, and I think this another traditional understanding of it also is that another additional benefit is that that remembering that we could die at any time motivates us to take advantage of this opportunity while we have the Buddha's teachings to put them into practice. Knowing that we could pass away at any time and we don't know then where we will go, that we should try to capitalize on the Buddhist teachings now. It's one other consideration.
Right. So now you are in Empty Cloud.
Yes.
How was that experience when you are in Empty Cloud, the monastic community, and also temple forest monasteries? So you can maybe compare the two different experiences in Thailand and here in Empty Cloud and temple forest monastery.
Sure. Well, there are some differences and some things that are the same. Of course, the fundamental themes of the Buddha's teachings are found in both, and which I find very heartwarming and gratifying to see. Very satisfying to see that here in the West now we have so many wonderful teachers and who can pass on the fundamentals of the Buddha's teachings. And so we go into a monastery here in the United States. It's a familiar environment in terms of philosophy, and also in terms of the customs. I think of the monkhood and the traditions of the Buddhist ceremonies and methods of worship, for example, and so on like this. And of course, the code of conduct for the monks. So we have this culture of the discipline and the guidelines that the Buddha gave us. And in terms of contrasts, we have here in America, we have many different Buddhist traditions coming together. So as we're very privileged and fortunate to have Bhante Sumita here with us. And we have we have monastics of different backgrounds and lay supporters of different backgrounds coming into the monastery. And so we have Sinhalese, and we have Indonesian, we have Thai, we have Caucasian American, we have African American. So it's a wonderfully rich environment, very stimulating. We can learn and learn new things, and that's wonderful. And I think that sometimes it can be we can have some humorous incidents. For example, it's well known amongst Asian Buddhists about the relations between monks and women, for example. But many American women wouldn't know, for example, that you can't walk up to a monk and expect him to shake hands, for example, necessarily, or something like this. And so it could be a little bit of humorous interacting and explaining about how our culture in the monastery. But fortunately, they're all very, everyone who comes into the monastery is very interested in learning. They're very inspired by the Buddhist teachings. They want to live well in the monastery. And so I find it's been, my experiences here at Empty Cloud and at Temple Forest Monastery is quite harmonious and very conducive to practice, and seeing, in my own humble opinion, a lot of good karma being done. It's very inspiring.
Sadhu. So happy to hear that. I think also, friends, if you are around New Jersey, New York, you can make a visit to Empty Cloud Monastery to meet these wonderful monks, monastic community. And also there are places in US, right? Quite a few places though. For example, I went to Bhavana Society a few days ago. The beautiful experience of, practicing in the wilderness, in a separate kuti, far away from the city. Such a peaceful time, and it's really conducive to practice. And also the presence of that amazing compassionate monk like Bhante Ji, 97 years old, it really can inspire us to a great extent. And a lot of people come. Although it is far away, located far away from the city, still people come and practice. And over here in Empty Cloud too, we see all the time, especially the weekend. We
Yes.
can say Saturday evening meditation session and Sunday afternoon meditation session, always full.
Yes.
It's house full. That's really beautiful to see them coming here and practicing. I even see some kids,
Yes.
enjoying that beautiful, peaceful nature here. Right. Okay, and let me go to another question over here. Yeah, maybe these things are actually going to help our friends. So I really want to get something out of this wonderful venerable. um, so, and thank you, Dharma for your comment. So, can you share some insights into your responsibilities at these monasteries, such as you said? I remember like stacking firewood, looking after trap rodents, and cleaning bathrooms. Yeah.
Oh, yes, sure. So up at Temple Forest Monastery in New Hampshire, it's an Ajahn Chah monastery, and it's also a kind of a wilderness monastery. So they have a large plot of land, and they use wood fires to heat two of the buildings that they have. And so it would be quite a lot of physical labor, different times of year, doing things like splitting wood and stacking it and carrying it from place to place, And at one point, I was also a person responsible for starting the fire every morning and every evening in one building. And so, and this is a good experience for helping to stay healthy, I think, and physically fit, but also to reflect on the labor that's necessary in life to sustain the human life. And but we were very fortunate. I used to reflect that because we had so much firewood and we could use it, that while we're dependent on so many resources for our lives, as human beings, that we must have had some good karma in the past coming to fruition, that we had these resources. And so a variety of contemplations that might arise about these different things. And they say in Thailand that with regard to resources, in Thailand they say that if you have food to eat, it's because you've done good deeds in the past. And
Definitely. Yeah, completely agree.
So I try to reflect on that with regard to the various resources we had. And this is motivational to try to continue doing good things and reflect on all the resources we had provided from the lay supporters, and how we had a responsibility as monastics to use them well and try to use them for the practice and the furtherance of the religion.
And also, like cleaning the bathrooms
Yes.
can make you such a humble person.
Yes.
Our ego, so we have that continuously built up ego in us. So when we clean bathrooms, when we clean spittoons,
Yes.
I remember in Sri Lanka we have spittoons. So the monks used to eat beetle and then spit on that, and cleaning those things, and taking care of the elder senior monks, washing their bowls and washing their robes and clean their room, and also attending to their needs, really, really make us more humble people.
Yes.
Especially as you mentioned, like cleaning the bathroom. No, not everyone is so interested in doing that, but the monks have to do that. So that makes you a very humble person, ground to earth
Yes.
person when you do that, right?
Right. Yes, I thought so. Yes.
And I was really wondering, because you're from US and you went there and you had to do such thing. How was that experience?
Oh, yes. So especially in Thailand, I actually in Thailand was also a bathroom cleaner for part of the time I was there, especially while I was a junior monk there. And the latrines in the subtropics are you might say, much less inviting than
Mm.
than the bathrooms we have in
the West.
a modern American, modern American place. And so it was very close to nature. There'd be even wild animals in them at some points. And so,
Oh, wow.
lizards and things like this. But and so another reflection on it while doing is something as simple as bathroom cleaning. Something even so down to earth and simple and common as that. You know, the masters would teach us to use it as an opportunity to contemplate the Dhamma. And so we might contemplate, well, people are typically eager to go and have a meal. And that's one of the considerations that came up in my mind. People are usually quite eager to go have a meal, but they're not so eager to clean the bathroom.
Right. Right.
And these two things, of course, are all of a piece. You know, if you have one, then you must have the other, sort of thing. And all of these things come together. And this is, as you said, Bhante, the pluses and minuses to every situation. And talking about death also, Ajahn Chah said, you know, well, as soon as someone is born, then they're bringing death with them as well.
Every single breath.
Sadhu. And so this was a consideration for me. Well, you know, if I don't like cleaning the bathrooms, well, then does that mean also that I don't like eating? Or what does that say? You know, does these two things come together hand in hand? And so, so many considerations and contemplations doing this kind of work.
And community care, you know, like other people also use the bathroom. So if you clean it, it'll be beneficial to them. So
yes.
It's full of loving kindness, compassion, your generosity, caring for the others. It's like innumerable benefits to everyone.
Sadhu.
Right. So, Venerable, we'll come to now, I think, teaching and practice. As we have been dealing with some other personal and practical experiences you had. Apart from that, would you like to explain a little about this? What advice would you give to lay practitioners who are seeking to deepen their practice in the modern world?
Okay. Well, what to do and what advice to give, I think, depends on where you're at now. But I think ideally for the lay practitioner, I found it very helpful to find the recommendation that we have all the way back in the suttas. When the Buddha was asked about what is the path for the lay practitioner, we have this in the Dhammika Sutta of the Sutta Nipata. And the Buddha, he actually was asked, what is the path for the monk and what is the path for the layperson? He described the monk's path, and he said, and the path for the layperson is different, of course, than the path for the monastic. And he said that for lay people, they should follow the 5 precepts all the time. And then one day a week, and so this would be what they called the Uposita day, or you might say a religious observance day. The Buddha recommended following the 8 precepts and devoting the day to spiritual practice. He also taught his foremost female lay disciple, Lady Visakha, about this in a sutta called the Mulu Posita Sutta. And he describes several meditation themes for her to practice. And so it's a day for what in the West we might call a one-day retreat.
What sutta is that?
As I recall, the name of it, the one that has his guidance to Lady Visakha was called the Mulu Posita Sutta.
Mulu?
I think so. MULUPO.
Oh, Mulu Posita.
Okay, sorry. My pronunciation probably isn't very good.
Right.
So yes, the root of the Uposita. And so this is...
I got it.
Okay. And so wonderful you can find these things so quickly online.
Yes, that's so helpful. I want to share with them. Yeah, this is the Mulu Posita Sutta. Yes, please.
And so, so again, it's the 8 precepts and devoting the day to spiritual practice and perhaps some study. And this is quite an important aspect of Buddhist culture in Buddhist countries such as Thailand or Sri Lanka. I've heard in Sri Lanka as well. And it's a day when lay people will go into the monastery and hear Dhamma talks and practice meditation and also perform some service in the monastery, maybe make offerings as well. And that can be done in monasteries here in America also. And that was the third recommendation the Buddha gave. I mentioned generosity. He said also practicing generosity and supporting the monastics. As advice he gave in the Dhammika Sutta. I myself observed the Uposita day for about 10 years in lay life. So once a week, every week, on a day that was convenient for me. According to the suttas, it was typically observed on the lunar phases, so on the quarters and on the full moon and half moon, or actually full moon and new moon. But that was the sort of calendar they used then. In modern times in the West, the calendar is different. So I used to just observe it every Saturday or Sunday, the days I had off from work, and so I could devote myself to spiritual practice. And I came to feel that this was my very special day. It was so valuable to me. It felt so beneficial. It was a day when I could kind of reset and get back to my priorities as a person, what was really important to me. And so I think it helped me keep my spiritual life on track. And so I'd like to recommend that if I could.
We have a question here that's a little bit advanced. So he asked, what is attainment and how you know it is attainment? It will be interesting to share so everyone can know how to go for it. What occurs during that moment of attainment?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, yes. Bhante, may I defer to you? May I invite you to answer, or should I answer?
Right. So I think, Joe, I know you are also a Dhamma teacher already. Joe Wu. So it will be helpful to everyone, yes. So let's say like when we practice the meditation, it really helps us in finding our own inner peace, first of all, right? And then we need to also, it's like driving through the freeway. You see the road signs, right? So when you see, like, you have to, for example, from New Jersey to New York, if you go, you have some road signs, and then you see, okay, I'm here now, I'm passing the city, and then I'm also going through the tunnel, Hudson tunnel, and then I enter New York, and you see some signs, right? And then you know you are there. So it's, I think literally we can say it is like that. So when you practice meditation, you also need to know where you are. So one of those satta visuddhis, for example, we know like kankha vitarani, how to get out of those doubts, and and magga jnana dassana visuddhi, how to know what is right path or what is wrong. Those things are, it will come to you. It won't come to you like overnight. With continuous practice, you are improving slowly and gradually. And let's say jhana, when you want to practice jhana, like you have 5 hindrances on the one hand, and then 5 jhanic factors on the other hand, right? You need to see like kama, chanda, vyapada, tina, midda, uddhacha, kukkucha, vichikicha, sensual pleasures, and then ill will, and then sloth and torpor, and then what do you call, restlessness and remorse, and then doubt. Those are the hindrances you have, and then the jhanic factors you also need to remember, like vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. Vitakka is the applied thought, and then sustained thought, and then the rapture, and then that amazing ease, peace, and and the comfort, and then that unification of mind. towards your meditation object. If you practice on Anapana, it should be unification of your mind with the breath. So you will continue to reflect on these things while meditating. So then you will know you are there. You are improving your meditation. Do you want to add something, Venerable?
Let's see. So, the question of attainment it could apply to many things. Bhante, for example, was talking about attaining jhana, and there are many levels of attainment. Even the suppression of the hindrances is a wonderful thing to experience. We have the metaphors in the suttas of the tremendous relief experienced when the suffering of being burdened by the hindrances is behind us. Then there are the attainment of the insight knowledges, these kind of learning stages we go through. And these are detailed in the commentarial literature. So, for example, in the Visuddhimagga, and there's several different stages you go through. And depending on how solid your samadhi is, it can be somewhat emotional to go through these. There can be some experience of anxiety, for example. It's just one example, as the heart is learning about the true nature of reality. But then eventually profound equanimity, as the heart realizes that the suffering is caused by how it relates to its experience. And that if it is more reserved and doesn't get so involved with sensory experience, then it can be more peaceful and more balanced. And so, and mindfulness continues to develop. And then when the mind takes the final step and lets go of everything at once, then the mind goes to nibbana and then comes back on the attainment of stream entry. And then the Buddha gave us a wonderful sutta that we have in the Pali. I believe it's called, please correct me if I'm wrong, Bhante, I believe it's called maybe the mirror of the Dhamma in English, but I don't know the Pali.
Mirror of the Dhamma.
Is that possibly true? So I may be wrong, but in this sutta, the Buddha talks about the factors of having attained sotapanna, how one can tell for oneself if one has attained sotapanna. The sutta I'm thinking of, perhaps I have the title wrong. And he explains that you'll have faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. The Buddha truly was rightly self-awakened. The Dhamma is well taught, and the Sangha really has practiced well. Then there's also the maintaining the 5 precepts, which are beloved by noble ones. And in one sutta, maybe a different sutta, he uses the simile of a baby on the floor.
Is that the Mahaparinibbana Sutta?
Oh, is it? I'm sorry. Okay, maybe.
Digha Nikaya 16?
Okay, maybe. Is that the sutta that has the simile of the baby, or the mirror, the 4 qualities?
It says here, Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the mirror of Dhamma.
Oh, I see. Okay. The mirror of the Dhamma. Okay. And the Sotapanna's adherence to the 5 precepts, the Buddha likens it to a toddler who's on the floor. And he's lying on his back on the floor, and he reaches his hand out. He can't see because he's reaching his hand out behind him. And he feels the heat of a coal, a red hot coal that has fallen to the floor from a fire, perhaps a fire to heat the dwelling that he's in. Feeling this heat with his hand, he instinctively draws it back. Without having to see the coal or know what it is, but just feeling the heat, he instinctively draws it back without having to think, just reflexively, as any of us would. And the Buddha said that this is what it's like for a Sotapanna when it comes to breaking the 5 precepts, that the Sotapanna instinctively draws back from doing it. And so this is another quality of the Sotapanna. And so we can reflect on these. If we want to know, am I a Sotapanna? This is perhaps some criteria to use from the suttas. Yeah.
Right. Job also explains, attainment has been realized by me as according to what the Buddha said. Con and experience into yourself, and you will know what I have known, perfectly true for one who sees the way see the Buddha. Yo dhammam pasati so mang pasati. Yo mang pasati so dhammam pasati, right? One who sees the Buddha sees the Dhamma. Yeah. And okay, thank you again for your insight too. And let's come to another question, Venerable. Um, so we also have Dhamma USA community. Like, if I may ask, how can um, Dhamma USA community best support monks like yourself in their practice and teaching?
Oh, interesting question. Well, I think the most fundamental level, perhaps the most important thing to be supportive, the most important thing that can be done to be supportive is to actually practice the teachings, which I'm sure you're all doing. But if we look, how can I improve my practice? Perhaps in line with the question that was asked earlier, and am I keeping the practice up? This is a way that each and every one of us can maintain the sasana, and is good for the entire fourfold community. The male and female lay supporters, and the male and female monastics. Keeping up the teachings, keeping up the practice. Let's see. I think that having these online resources is truly wonderful for the teachings here in America, where we don't have as many monasteries, perhaps as some other countries, and so people from all over the country can see, receive teachings like this and feel as though they're part of a community. I think as we establish more communities across the country, this will be very beneficial as well. And so that people will be able to go in person and experience the teachings and practice in community. And it's a wonderful resource I think we have at these monasteries we mentioned so far, at Temple Forest Monastery, Empty Cloud, the Bhavana Society,
Abhayagiri,
the Abhayagiri.
What metaphors?
Yes, that lay people can go and stay in the monastery for a period of time and practice alongside the monastics and live the monastic routine. I think perhaps we have a wider variety of monastic residences that also will be beneficial, so that we have the temples that are close to the large cities, like Empty Cloud, as we have more of these, where people can easily come out from the cities to practice in a quiet place like Empty Cloud, and the forest monasteries, and monasteries with large sanghas, and monasteries with small sanghas, and perhaps even hermitages in the future. This is one thing that would be very beneficial in America, where it's not so easy as it is in a country like Thailand or Sri Lanka for a monk to simply go out and find an abandoned building or a tree to live under, or a cave, and expect to go into the town with his alms bowl and receive food. And to practice in seclusion like this is another dimension that perhaps we'll have in the future will be very supportive as well for practicing intensive meditation. And
Yeah, I think very wonderful. I was always thinking like, if we have monastic school system, like back in Sri Lanka, for example, state sponsored, like very organized formal education system for monks, young Samanera monks, how they train them, and also like I think over 800 monastic schools in Sri Lanka for young monks, and also they can go to university, they can learn, and there are like endless opportunities for them, and also the supportive community. Like you go with your bowl, you will never be suffering, and yeah, that's amazing. And so if we have something like that, I know like we have here some, but I think we still need to know there are a lot of young people who are specifically enthusiastic. They want to get some training.
yes,
Even if you get ordination, it doesn't really end up. You need to continuously study, continuously learn pariyatti, right?
yes,
And what are those challenges? As you mentioned, like when you were doing there, it was actually practical training you had,
yes,
but also Dhamma learning,
yes,
right? Dhamma
Yes.
learning, like Tipitaka learning. These are, then also just reading alone is not enough.
right.
You can do it yourself. You need some help
Right.
So I think it will be so wonderful if we hopefully can have some places where we can train the young monks and bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and also the lay devotees or anagarikas, for example,
Yes.
where they really can get some training. I remember I also would like to actually introduce our friends. There's another place called Right Mindfulness Training Academy, RMTA, what we also call Mid America Buddhist Association in St. Louis. We do have formal teaching courses on Buddhism, and I also teach there. We do have really good faculty there to teach, mostly online, and there are options like some of them can really seriously study and get certificate from University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka, so that is affiliated to University of Kelaniya, and then others can even just attend as audience.
Wow.
Yeah, this auditing is possible. So think of it. Take a look at the RMTA programs, and if you need more information, just let me know. We are actually going to start some courses pretty soon. Yes.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So all right, we have I think a couple of questions, and I want to actually give you some rest. It's already past our time. How? Okay, I think we did that already. Sorry, we did that. Um, okay, so what are some practical ways to integrate the teachings of Ajahn Chah and Ajahn Mun into daily life? I think that will be very helpful to our audience if you explain a little bit.
Okay. Well, of course, they emphasize the practice of keeping the sila, so keeping the precepts. This is very important. This is very important as a foundation for our lives. The masters in the lineage of Ajahn Mun emphasize that if we want the opportunity to be reborn as human again in our next life, then we must keep the 5 precepts in this life. This is very important. They also emphasized gratitude to one's parents and to one's teachers and to one's elder relatives as well. Say this is an important aspect of sila, to be grateful to them and to be very polite to them as well. And this I think can bring such joy to the heart when we have these qualities. If we develop these qualities over time, then it feels these qualities feel very good. Being grateful and being polite to our elders, and they act as an impetus for us to do good things for them as well, which in turn is good karma for us also. And so these qualities have multiple benefits. Another quality that they emphasized for disciples, both lay and ordained, was trying to practice continuous mindfulness. So Ajahn Chah had a simile. He said that typically when we start practicing, our mindfulness is like the drips coming out of a drippy water faucet. It's this very mundane, very, very down-home kind of simile. So you see just a drip, drip, drip coming out of a faucet. He says, what we really want is a continuous stream of water coming out of the faucet. That's a simile for the mindfulness. So we want the mindfulness to be continuous. The reasoning behind this is
In
that
Pali, it is called Udabindu Nipatena Udakumbo Vipurati.
Oh,
so by drop, the whole faucet is full.
Wonderful, right? Yes.
And also Ajahn Chah uses so many similes in the nature, and the Buddha has already used these things beautifully in Dhammapada and other suttas elsewhere, many places. It really touches the heart for many people, and the way you can teach certain things, like maybe maybe like 1,000 talks can be fulfilled with one just simile, one just metaphor in the nature.
I think Bhante Sumita is also, I think in mentioning this, you've also brought out an important point about the value of study that the forest masters like Ajahn Mun and Ajahn Chah, they're best known for their meditation, but they also did go through monastic study programs as well before they entered meditation. And so, yes, and so some of these similes being adopted and used and adapted sometimes by the forest masters all the way back to the Buddha.
That's right. Right.
And so the continuity of mindfulness. And one master was asked, how do we become more mindful in our daily activities? And he says the way to do this is to increase the frequency of your formal meditation. And I was really struck by that how the formal meditation practice is the foundation for our mindfulness. I think I found that in my own life also. And so if we have a regular meditation practice, meditating 20 minutes a day or 40 minutes a day, this is good to help us with our meditation. And then if we can do the religious observance days I mentioned before, so help us to be more mindful throughout the day. And if we can take a break throughout the day at different periods, even just for a minute, just to be mindful for a minute at different periods. Say, if a person parks their car before going into work, if they can stop and be mindful for a minute and meditate at various times throughout the workday, and then when they go back out to get into their car, be mindful for a minute, and so on throughout the day. So tremendous ramifications, I think, for how well the day goes, and helping us to become calmer and more skillful in our behavior. And so perhaps that's a practical suggestion.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, Ajahn Wade. I think one final question, and I want to give you some rest for tonight. How do you see the role of Buddhist monastics evolving in the West?
Okay. I feel so new here.
Relatively, as a monastic.
Right. So I've been back in the United States for about 15 or 16 months now, I guess it is. Well, it seems to me that most Americans who are born here in America have an initial interest in Buddhism via meditation. And they may not have an interest in or much faith in other teachings coming from the Buddha, such as teachings on keeping precepts, or teachings about past and future lives, that the realities of rebirth. So I think perhaps one role for monastics is helping people who are new to these kinds of teachings understand their relevance to them and the value of them, and helping them come to see the truth in them. For example, in terms of talking about karma, talking about cause and effect relationships that we can see right here in this life, that our actions really do have good and bad consequences, and good actions have good consequences and bad actions have bad consequences, and if they can see this right here in this very life, then this can be motivating to do good karma and not do bad karma. And so, and this was actually one way of talking about karma that we see right all the way back in the suttas, where, for example, the Buddha points out to his disciples, well, if you don't steal, then you're much less likely to be punished by the king for stealing. So it's a benefit of keeping precepts that we can see right in this life. So perhaps this is a relatively short answer. A general answer, you can see that kinds of things I'm thinking about when it comes to helping people come to understand Buddhism, Westerners come to understand Buddhism. I think also for the monastics, keeping the sila and representing the religion well is something very important we can do for the religion in the West.
Right. I think Vinayo Nama Sasana Sahayu, right? The
Sadhu.
very
Yes.
lifeline of this sasana is the Vinaya.
Sadhu.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I really want to say so much thank.
Oh, my
I
pleasure.
mean, short of words to, express our gratitude to this wonderful monk who uh, shared his wisdom today. And thank you so much, Venerable Ajahn Wade Bhūripanyo. And I also wish you all the very best to continue your Dhamma path. And with the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem, may you always be well, happy, healthy, and may you be able to achieve your spiritual goal as soon as possible. And hopefully, you will become um, a, a powerful monk who can inspire many other enthusiastic followers of the Dhamma.
Thank you so much, Bhante. It's been a
Right.
real honor to be asked to share my opinions and my story, and
Yes.
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, dear friends. We are going to close today for this, and before that, I think I would also like to answer Julie. Julie says she wants to come to the monastery. Is it possible for meditators to visit during Vassa? I hope you may actually email. That will be better always. That will be more helpful. You will get the exact answer from them. That should be a better one. So please contact the monastery, and they will let you know what exact to be done. I'm sure you should be able to come during the Vassa too. All right. So with that, we conclude today's Dhamma Chat with Ajahn Wade Bhūripanyo. And I hope it was helpful to many enthusiastic followers of the Dhamma. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And I saw many people actually joining, and Alanis, Nandani, Vilottama, Luciana, Doyle, Dhammachari, Jeevan Saman Bandara, and Wheel of Wisdom, Manal Vyasmeta, and Dinesh Madhura Veera Singha, Dharmalana, Ravindra Kamble, and Joe Wu, and also Julie, and Vivian Trong, and to all of you who joined us today and been a part of this beautiful, wonderful discussion with Ajahn Ved. Uh, may you all be blessed by the Noble Triple Gem. May you all be well, happy, healthy, safe wherever you are. And with that, we would like to conclude the session with a short chanting. I would like to actually invite Ajahn Wade to do a short chanting according to Thai style.
Sure. A blessing chant.
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. Yatha varivaha pura paripurinti sagarang evamewa itoti nang peta nang upakapati ichitang patitang tumhang kipame wasamichatu sape purentu sangapa chanto panaraso yatamani jyotiraso yata Sabiteo vivajantu, saparogo vinasatu, mate bhavatwantarayo, sukhi digayuko bhava, abhivatana sili sanichang buddha pachayino, chataro dhamma vadanti, Ayuwano Sukhang Palang Bhavatu Sapa Mangalang Rakantu Sapa Devata Sapa Buddha Nupawena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapa Mangalang Rakantu Sapa Devata Sapa Dhammanupavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapa Mangalang Rakantu Sapa Devata Sapa Sanghanupavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.